Welcome to today's deep dive into excerpts from The Inner Citadel and The Dark Empath. Because, I mean, we usually consider empathy to be this universally positive trait, right? Like a superpower.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But this deep dive explores the chilling reality of weaponized empathy.
Mm.
Like, what happens when the person who seems to understand you best is actually just, mapping out your weaknesses?
Yeah, and to understand how that works, we really have to look at the psychological profile our source focuses on, which is the dark empath.
Right.
So normally when we talk about empathy, we mean effective empathy. That's literally feeling another person's emotions. But dark empaths operate almost entirely on high cognitive empathy. They understand your emotions perfectly on an intellectual level.
But they don't actually feel them with you.
Exactly. They pair that intellectual understanding with dark triad personality traits. So narcissism, Machiavellianism, or psychopathy.
Wow. Okay, so they know exactly how you feel, but instead of sharing the feeling, they just use it as raw data.
Yes, exactly. Just data to be manipulated.
It's like someone generously offering to install a high-tech security system in your house, but only so they can secretly keep the master code to break in later.
That is a brilliant analogy. And the thing is, they are incredibly patient about installing that backdoor. In the early stages of a relationship, they camouflage themselves flawlessly as, your biggest supporter.
Right, they feel like an absolute soulmate right out of the gate.
Which is what makes it so dangerous. Because what they're actually doing during those deep, really intense conversations is mapping your insecurities. They're finding your triggers and your traumas.
That's just building trust solely to acquire leverage.
Right, for later manipulation.
So since this whole thing masquerades as a deep, genuine connection, how can you possibly protect yourself without, I don't know, becoming completely paranoid and isolating yourself from everyone?
Well, that exact problem is why the author of our source actually looks back 2,000 years for a defense mechanism.
Oh, to the Stoics, right.
Yeah, specifically to the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius. He wrote extensively about this concept of the inner citadel. As an emperor surrounded by, political schemers and backstabbers, he cultivated this practice of maintaining an impenetrable fortress of the mind.
Okay, an inner citadel.
Right. The core rule is that you never hand over the keys to your inner citadel just because someone knows the right words to say.
Wait, but if we lock ourselves in an impenetrable fortress, don't we lose the ability to form real, vulnerable relationships? Like if I'm always guarding the gate, how do I actually build trust with anyone?
That's a really good question, and the inner citadel isn't actually about permanent isolation. It relies on a highly practical tool that the source calls the vulnerability delay.
Vulnerability delay. Okay,
Right.
how does that work?
It's the active practice of withholding your deepest traumas early on. You just intentionally delay sharing those emotional triggers until a person's long-term actions actually match their early empathetic words.
So you don't have to be cold or evasive about it, you just gracefully deflect.
Yeah, exactly. If someone probes too deeply, too fast into your past wounds, you simply say something like, "I appreciate you asking, but I'm just enjoying getting to know you right now. Maybe we can dive into the heavy stuff later."
Oh, I see. You're establishing a waiting period,
Right.
letting time verify their credentials.
Yes, because empathy is incredibly easy to fake in the short term.
Anyone can be perfectly supportive on a first date.
Exactly. But consistent supportive behavior over months or years is not easy to fake. So the vulnerability delay builds this sort of impenetrable emotional armor. You learn to appreciate empathy from others without automatically handing them the leverage to destroy your peace of mind later.
So the real takeaway for you listening today is that true emotional safety requires observing those long-term actions, not just trusting early empathetic words.
It forces you to watch what people do over the long haul.
It really reframes how we evaluate relationships. And, it brings up a rather uncomfortable question to leave you with today. Well, if dark empaths intentionally use cognitive empathy to manipulate, is it possible that everyday people accidentally use micro versions of weaponized understanding?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. Think about it. When you bring up a partner's deepest insecurities during a heated argument, aren't you basically using that master code to bypass their security system?
That is a heavy thought.
It really is.
Mm.
It certainly makes you rethink who you give the keys to.